As a neurobiologist, your practices are a little later than we're accustomed to here. Is that because your time zone, biorhythm, practice close to the game time?
I think obviously that is something that's always good. Really, when you look into it, it's always good for people to practice in the environment that they're going to play, just kind of like taking a test or anything like that. But for the most part, it's more so we can just get all the things detailed and installed prior to practice. So we always want to have that done as much as possible, and I've always kind of liked doing it a little later instead of earlier once you get into that game week.
Have you made a decision whether KJ would play this week, and how do you think he's looked now that he's been out with teams?
Yeah, he looked good. I mean, he's a guy that, again, we're trying to do it the right way. I think that as we continually talk to him, if he feels as though that he needs some reps to be able to get out there, we'll definitely give those to him if he's cleared and everything's good. So I'd say on track. I'm hoping we see him out there a little bit.
And you let Joe Schobert go yesterday. What do you like about your inside linebacker depth, and do you still think Jonas Griffith could maybe go week one?
Yeah, we're definitely hoping for Jonas to be week one. That's kind of our aiming point. Very much dodged a bullet on that one. From the linebackers, they've all done a good job. I think they're continually getting better and understanding the system. And, we've got a couple veterans there. And then we got some young guys that have really improved. So we want to take advantage of those guys we have right now.
In the back of the roster decisions, how much do you balance, say, okay, this guy's really good at their offensive or defensive discipline, but also then maybe somebody else is better on special teams, and maybe Dwayne fighting for those guys?
Yeah, those are the fun battles that we start getting into. Everybody wants the guys that, they potentially want, and there's definitely a battle. But it is a three-phase game. That's something I've always believed in. I love special teams, was a part of special teams, coached special teams, and I think that you definitely have to take that into perspective. If there's somebody that's going to offer you a dynamic player, a playmaker in that role on that phase, you definitely have to take that into consideration.
Hey, with this gig, you've talked about managing your time. How much more time have you spent talking to George about roster construction than maybe you were anticipating this time of year?
I think we've just been really, really efficient. Okay, so we've done a really good job at just kind of communicating and talking and going through everything, and we'll continue to do that. Hi, Melvin.
What you think about Melvin? We just want to.
I'll tell you, Melvin. When he comes out there, he looks, like a big, strong running back, and we're just excited to feed him the rock and give him the ball a lot.
What do you think about Melvin's honesty when he's on the podium?
I imagine he's unbelievably honest.
With Bradley Chubb, when you've seen him at his peak, is he one of those guys that's kind of a game-breaking, game-changing pressure?
Definitely. He's a guy, I remember going against him a couple years ago, and I think it was 2019. He was a guy we had to be aware of. And that's what we wanted to be like here. Haven't faced the Broncos, don't know the situation in the past, and just gotten to be able to see him there, and he's a problem for us on the practice field. So wanted to be a problem on game day.
As you were looking back at the game film and some of the run game struggles, how much of sort of a reassurance was it knowing that DJ Jones is going to have something to say about all that, and how critical is his role in this defensive scheme?
Yeah, I think when it comes to both sides in the run game, I mean, you want to continually preach what you want to do, and you want to see how many guys can offer help throughout the season. But you definitely, even when we come out here and practice, that's where you get that, confirmation that they're understanding it and what we're trying to accomplish, both with the running backs, the line, and everybody. And when it comes to the defense, we have to go against that line all the time. So there's a lot of guys that are going to participate in stopping the run, whether it's, Mike, whether it's DJ, Draymond, all those guys are playing at a high level, and we're excited to see them stop the run.
From a game management perspective, who is your eye in the sky been on challenges, and also what does Derek do on the field against trailing?
So Brad Miller is our game management guy, and he's done a really good job. We have a lot of conversations, a lot of talks. In my past, I kind of did all of it by myself, so it's really great to have somebody there that's always in your ear, giving you the go if you want to go for it on fourth down, when to take a timeout, just kind of always keeping you up to date with that. Derek is really there just to make sure I don't do anything crazy and make sure I have the red flag or don't have the red flag, and right there just in case I need the surface, or he's also charting plays. He's doing all kinds of stuff just so that I can have those transitions to make it efficient so that I could be there for defense and special teams.
Coach, how has the value changed for you in preseason games from your earliest memory to now?
Gosh, my earliest memory was I wasn't a big fan of them, just experiencing some of the things that, my father had to experience through that. You're always excited to see the guys play. I mean, it's always fun on game day. It doesn't matter whether it's preseason or not, so you appreciate that aspect of it, getting into the stands or getting into the stadium and seeing the fans in the stands. All those things are awesome, and just going through that operation is always good. From the standpoint of the players being out there, it's one of those things, it's like I've said before, it's risk-reward. You want to see evaluations on certain people, but at the same time, time, you want to have everybody available all the time.
With your
Like,
father,
feel more for the coach?
with your father's coaching experience, do you remember anything as a kid from the preseason that's like a frozen moment where you say, "Oh, I don't want to experience
Chad
anything
Pennington.
like
Chad Pennington, when he got injured at the New York Jets, playing the New York Giants. I remember that one very clearly.
Is the plan for Brett to play the whole first half, and what did you see from him that made you want to give him that opportunity?
Yeah, I think both of those guys have done a good job, and I think Rip has earned an opportunity to be able to go the first half. I think he had a really good game last week. He's improved, and again, we're looking for consistency from that position. It's not saying that Josh hasn't done good, because he has done a fine job. We just want to be sure we get both those guys, because they've been working so hard and pushing each other, and that competition is a great one. We want to make sure that the guys that deserve that opportunity get it.
With Mike Shanahan having to wait another year to get in the Hall of Fame, how much of an influence has he had on the game, and still has an influence?
I mean, gosh, the whole world that he created when he was at Denver, especially, and going through the West Coast, and then the Denver Broncos with those amazing years in the past year. I mean, it was definitely something that's become a staple of what a lot of people want to do, and you have to be within it to understand what you're trying to accomplish. So I think that from that standpoint, a whole offensive world of football was really kind of created during his time with Alex Gibbs and him and TD and all those guys. So his time will come, and I know he'll be in there, and he's a great coach.
A couple days ago, you mentioned the bubble guys at wide out, and how some of those guys keep taking steps forward. Hinton and Seth Williams, how those two guys kind of made their case for the roster here.
Yeah, I mean, all those guys, like we said, I mean, right when you think there's going to be some kind of a separation, it's not necessarily that somebody took a step back, but other guys are pushing even harder, and that's what you're looking for. So I think both those guys, you saw Seth had that great catch for a touchdown. Kendall had an amazing go right on the left side the first game, and it's every day just those guys pushing each other. And I think that all these guys have a chance to be able to play in the NFL.
Hey, you and
Last one, Brandon.
Coach Ever have been friends for a long time, but you've only been his boss for a little while. So how's that dynamic, especially if the defense doesn't look maybe the way you'd like it to look at times?
Yeah, I think that we are close, but it is a business, and we made that clear when we kind of brought this marriage together. And it's one of those things is that my job is to make sure I hold him accountable. The same thing for him. I want everybody to hold everybody accountable. So we sat down, we watched it, we talked through it, and he was able to explain what should have happened. And we just kind of went through all of that. And I think that's part of the game, is to be able to communicate, and to have somebody like him, in this building that I know I can communicate at all time and be able to fix those things is the most important thing to be successful throughout the season.
Thank you very much, Coach.
All right, you guys.
Thank you.